Have you ever considered how easily one can fall into a trap without even realizing it? Imagine a wild animal that has spent its entire life fighting for survival, hunting for every scrap of food, avoiding predators, and overcoming uncertainty. Then, one day, it finds itself in a trap, but not a cage with rusty bars. It's offered something more sophisticated: a warm shelter, daily meals, clean water, and safety. At first, the animal resists, instinctively sensing danger. But over time, a strange metamorphosis occurs. The struggle fades, the anxiety disappears, and it becomes accustomed to its new position. The most surprising and tragic thing is that the cage opens, offering a chance to escape, to return to freedom. However, the animal does not take advantage of this opportunity, preferring comfort to uncertainty. Doesn't that seem familiar? Look around you. How many people live in invisible cages without even realizing it? How many of them are stuck in a life they didn't choose, but accepted because of its convenience? And here lies the cruel truth. Comfort is the most dangerous trap ever created. It doesn't hurt, doesn't scare, and doesn't warn. It seeps into life under the guise of a pleasant routine, a stable salary, and distractions that occupy but don't awaken. And gradually one stops noticing the open doors. They've been told that comfort is the goal, that the meaning of life lies in achieving a state where there's no need to struggle, where everything is easy, safe, and stable. But what if this idea is just an illusion, forcing one to abandon true freedom and potential? What if the most interesting and important things in life are beyond the comfort zone? Stay with us to learn how to recognize and avoid this insidious trap before it's too late. What can a person who has never known life's storms create? What stories can a traveler who has never strayed from the path tell? What triumphs are possible for someone who has avoided risk? The answer is obvious: nothing. Comfort and serenity are an intoxicating potion that is addictive. It dulls the senses, instilling the false belief that being content with little is the ultimate dream, that there is no need for more, that one shouldn't torment themselves with questions and step out of their comfort zone. Modern society skillfully maintains this state. It offers fleeting entertainment, momentary pleasures, social networks that create the illusion of bustling activity, while real accomplishments remain in the shadows. An educational system aimed at raising obedient executors rather than free thinkers. Work that provides only the means to survive but doesn't offer a chance to break out of the vicious circle. It's a prison without walls, a cage with an open door, where everyone voluntarily chooses to stay. However, comfort itself should not be demonized. The danger arises when it becomes an end in itself, when the fear of change paralyzes the desire for growth. In this case, personal growth stops. It's important to realize an undeniable truth. Development is only possible through overcoming discomfort. Look at success stories, at people who inspire admiration. They are all united by one trait. At some point, they dared to accept the challenge of uncertainty, engaged in a battle with chaos, took a leap into the unknown without a safety net. They failed, experienced doubts, but continued to move forward. Life favors not those who seek a quiet harbor, but those who dare to venture. However, most people prefer to stay within the familiar, because leaving the comfort zone means abandoning established ideas and beliefs learned over the years. This implies breaking with the usual routine, the imaginary security, and the deceptive tranquility of a life devoid of surprises. And this causes a perfectly understandable fear. After all, chaos lies beyond the familiar world. Failures and sleepless nights full of doubts about the correctness of the choice made are lurking. There are moments when it seems that everything around is collapsing. But it is there, beyond comfort, that something invaluable is found. A real, full-blooded life. And here's the truth that is not usually voiced. Suffering has a deep meaning. Uncertainty is an integral part of development. And discomfort is the inevitable price of evolution. The only question is whether a person is willing to pay this price. The saddest thing is that many people don't even realize that they are prisoners of their own illusions. They convince themselves that they are fine and cling to all sorts of excuses Now is not the right time. When I have more money, when I have more free time, but it's all self-deception. The perfect moment will never come. One will never feel completely ready, and if you wait until all the circumstances are in the best possible way, if you wait for the perfect signal, you can die in fruitless anticipation. Life favors the proactive, those who aren't afraid to move forward, even without a clear destination in mind. It belongs to those who realize that every day spent trapped in routine and monotony is a missed opportunity. Discomfort and challenges are the true path to growth, and unpredictability is the only constant we can be sure of. The question arises, how much longer do you intend to spend waiting? How many more promising opportunities are you willing to miss, succumbing to the fear of losing something that doesn't really hold much value for you? How many times will you postpone your endeavors to an indefinite tomorrow? The stark reality is that time is relentless and waits for no one. Every day spent in your comfort zone is one day taken away from the opportunity to create something truly meaningful and valuable. And there may come a moment when the realization of this truth comes too late. The cage, metaphorically representing the shackles of habit and fear, has always been open. The only question is whether you have the courage and determination to leave its confines. But there's a deeper problem here. It's not just about having the opportunity to leave, but about the fact that subconsciously, you may not even want to. Comfort and stability can change a person. You're no longer who you were before you ended up in this cage. It's made you softer, more compliant, and complacent. And most sadly, it's made you forget what it means to live a full, vibrant life. Genuine existence is vastly different from the monotonous repetition of days strung together, devoid of meaning, unlike a faceless calendar. It doesn't involve waking up with the feeling that the day ahead will simply be an echo of yesterday. Yet, many people continue to remain in this routine, vainly convincing themselves of their well-being. But when was the last time a person experienced a sense of genuine life? Not just entertainment or comfort, but something that ignites the soul from within, awakens the consciousness, and foreshadows the arrival of something grand. If there's no answer, then the truth is already clear: the individual has been domesticated. The problem isn't just comfort, but the loss that accompanies getting used to it. The ability to take risks is lost. The thirst for something better disappears, and the will to break free from established boundaries fades. And when the realization comes that everything that was considered normal is actually a cleverly disguised cage, it may be too late. After all, a cage isn't a physical place, but a state of mind. And if you spend enough time in it, it becomes an integral part of you. Bars are no longer needed if there's no desire to escape. A lock isn't required if the search for the key is stopped. This is the true goal of the system: to make you forget about the existence of anything beyond. However, the situation is exacerbated by the fact that people are not only lured into the embrace of comfort, but also taught to fiercely protect it. Any display of courage to break out of established boundaries provokes a barrage of criticism and ridicule. Such daredevils are labeled dreamers, madmen, or irresponsible elements. The true reason for this reaction lies in the fact that the very act of escape reminds others of a missed opportunity, of the existence of another path. Acknowledging this fact is tantamount to admitting years wasted on being content with little, on giving up true desires. Instead of following the example, most try to convince others to stay, arguing about the risk and potential losses. Why risk what you already have? What if you fail? What if everything is lost? Such questions imply that giving up mediocrity is a real tragedy. But isn't there anything more terrible than staying put, than living with the realization that you didn't even try to change your life? The reality is this: people are bought off with handouts. They're sold stability in exchange for ambition, security in exchange for freedom, comfort in exchange for potential. And many agree to these terms, receiving in return a predictable routine, a salary sufficient for survival but insufficient for gaining freedom. In return, distractions are offered to drown out true desires. The system doesn't need prison bars. It has enough entertainment to ensure that no one thinks about the boundaries of their own cage. The moment the seditious thought of escaping the hated reality creeps into consciousness, a chilling fear grips the will, whispering warnings, What if the audacious plan collapses? What if things ultimately get worse? But let me state with all certainty, there's no more devastating failure than never deciding to try. For the deepest wound is inflicted not by the fleeting pain of inevitable risk, but by the slow, agonizing fading away from destructive inaction. It's that relentless, gnawing doubt about unrealized potential, about who you could have become. It's the unbearable torture of looking at your reflection in the mirror and realizing that you haven't given your all, that you've surrendered without even putting up a fight. That is the true hell on earth. And here's a question that can turn everything upside down. If you knew for a fact that in 5 years you'd still be in the same place as today, would you continue to wait idly by? If the answer is a resounding no, then a logical question arises. What do you intend to do about this revelation? People everywhere talk about the desire for more, the pursuit of long-awaited freedom, the search for a higher purpose, the desire to leave an indelible mark on history. But when the moment of reckoning comes, when it's time to pay the bills, they cowardly retreat into the shadows. For freedom is a commodity that comes at a high price, and a genuine life is expensive. You'll have to pay for the audacious departure from the cozy but cramped world of familiarity. You'll have to bravely face the judgmental stares of others. You'll have to endure countless sleepless nights, a series of bitter failures and painful scars. However, it's worth considering whether comfort has its own price. After all, every day spent in a figurative cage deprives a person of unique opportunities that are irretrievably lost. It takes away experiences that will never be had, and ultimately, the very life that could have been. And if someone thinks this is a small price to pay, it only demonstrates a lack of understanding of the scale of the loss. This is the harsh truth. The choice is between the short-lived pain of discomfort and the endless pain of regret. The former lasts only a moment. The latter lasts a lifetime. The saddest thing is that this realization comes to most people too late, when they look back and see only blind obedience to instructions, conformity to others' expectations, and a pursuit of security. They realize that their life never truly became their own. They realize that the cage was never locked, but they lacked the courage to break free. So one should ask oneself, is one going to wait until it's too late? Will one continue to find excuses for their inaction? Or will one finally take control of their life? After all, the cage is open, and the only question is whether one will remain inside or finally awaken. It's necessary to look at one's life without embellishment, excuses, or illusions. Ask oneself the question that one has avoided for years. Is one really living or simply existing? The vast majority of people on the planet barely exist in the full sense of the word. They seem to be frozen in routine, mechanically performing actions prescribed to them by someone else's script. But inside each of us, there's a spark flickering, isn't there? A certain premonition that shrinks at the realization of this gray reality. It's an inner voice that whispers about the existence of something more, about opportunities that lie dormant beyond the horizon. It's that part of the personality that hasn't yet been extinguished by the burden of everyday life. That fragment of memory that holds memories of bold dreams and unfulfilled desires. The question is not whether this feeling is still alive, but whether we are ready to take any steps towards change. And here it is, the bitter truth of life. No one will come to the rescue. No one will throw open the gates of the prison. No one will push you out of your comfort zone. Those around you are mired in the quagmire of monotony. They have become so reconciled to their fate that any talk of change will only cause bewilderment and misunderstanding. Don't wait for approval. Look for the perfect moment, or hope for the disappearance of fear. The only way is to move forward, despite the lack of guarantees and confidence in success, while realizing that stagnation and inaction are not an option. Without risk, without a daring step, without an attempt to break out of the usual, one becomes the architect of one's own prison, personally locking oneself in it. A logical question arises. Where to begin this difficult path to freedom? First of all, it's necessary to ruthlessly cut off all the chains that hinder progress. Question established dogmas and habitual beliefs that may have long lost their relevance. Step out of your comfort zone, towards discomfort and the unknown. Do what has always beckoned, but has been postponed under the pretext of now is not the time. But time is that elusive now that was, is, and will be the only moment for action. Life is an unrelenting flow that doesn't wait for belated decisions, doesn't pause for the irresolute. It moves forward, regardless of whether one is ready for change. And here comes the key question. Is one ready to become the protagonist of one's own story? Or will one prefer to remain in the shadows, content with the role of an outside observer? In the ensuing silence of contemplation, when words gain weight and depth, it's important to listen to the inner voice. If a person has reached this point, it means that a spark of hope, an unquenchable desire for change, still flickers within them. But simply hearing this voice is not enough. Two paths open up before them: to return to the usual routine, to a life on autopilot, drowning in an endless stream of distractions and self-justifications, or to seize this feeling, this inner fire, and use it as an impetus for moving forward. Even if the ultimate goal is not yet clear, even if fear still constrains movement, it is important to remember the difference between those who break free and those who remain in captivity lies not in the absence of fear, but in the ability to act in spite of it. The author appeals to the audience, calling for action and awareness. He invites readers who feel a response to his words to leave a comment, "The cage is open." This is not just a formal action, but a symbol of the decision to leave the comfort zone and break free from imposed stereotypes. The author emphasizes that having reached this point, there is no turning back, and all that remains is to make a choice in favor of change. Next, he invites those who share his desire to expose lies and move towards the truth to subscribe to his content. The author promises to continue his activities aimed at destroying false beliefs if he sees support from the audience. In conclusion, he reminds us that life favors the brave and decisive people and asks a rhetorical question, urging readers to think about whether they are ready to become one of those who dare to change their lives.